John Travolta, an icon whose name is synonymous with timeless films, often finds himself in the quiet solitude of his Florida home at the age of 71. While the world remembers him for his unforgettable roles, Tony Manero in Saturday Night Fever, Danny Zuko in Grease, and Vincent Vega in Pulp Fiction, few know the profound emotional burdens he carries. His home, now quieter with the passing years, still echoes with memories of his late wife, children, and close friends, many of whom were taken by cancer or tragedy. Behind the smiles he brought to the screen, John has endured unimaginable losses, each loss leaving its mark on him. Yet, despite these personal struggles, he has never wavered in his commitment to sharing joy with the world. This paradox is what makes Travolta a truly extraordinary figure, a man who has faced profound grief, but continues to be a beacon of light for others. The humble beginnings of a dreamer. Born on February 18, 1954, in Englewood, New Jersey, John Travolta grew up in a home far too small for 6 children and dreams far too big to fit within its walls. His father, Salvatore Travolta, worked tirelessly at a local tire shop, his hands often stained with grease. His mother, Helen, once a performer, dedicated her life to teaching English and drama, channeling her unfulfilled ambitions into her children. Despite the modest lifestyle, the Travolta household was filled with love, noise, and a sense of community. John, the youngest, was often overlooked in a house full of personalities, but he soon learned that attention had to be earned. From an early age, he was drawn to performance, singing for his mother and dancing to make his siblings laugh. It was in this crowded home that he discovered the power of captivating an audience, even if it was only his family. The road to Hollywood, a leap of faith. At just 16, John Travolta made a life-changing decision. The noise, the poverty, and the weight of his family's struggles became too much. He knew that to escape, he had to leave. With only $150 in his pocket, a worn suitcase, and a dream, he left his New Jersey home. John's journey to New York was filled with hardships. The city was cold, fast, and indifferent. And for the first 8 months, he drifted from one temporary place to another, often sleeping on sofas and in rehearsal rooms. He lived on cheap hot dogs and tap water, with no guarantees of success. Casting directors barely looked at him, but John's resilience grew. He whispered to himself in the mirror, "I will not die in this city." And eventually, fate found him in a laundromat. This chance encounter led him to audition for Grease, a role that would change his life forever. From struggles to stardom, John Travolta's big break came when he was cast in the touring production of Grease, a role that took him to 47 cities across America. It was the first time he felt that his sacrifice had been worth it. The applause from small-town audiences became his oxygen, affirming that leaving everything behind had been the right decision. But when the tour ended, John faced an even bigger challenge. He packed up his savings, bought an old car, and drove west toward Hollywood. The road to California was far from glamorous. His car broke down. He slept in parking lots and showered in gyms for $3. His first role was a brief appearance on Emergency for $75, a tiny part that many would have considered insignificant. But for John, it was proof that he still belonged in the game. Slowly, his career began to build, step by step, role by role. The rise to fame, Vinnie Barbarino, and beyond, John's big break in Hollywood came when he was cast as Vinnie Barbarino in the hit sitcom Welcome Back, Kotter in 1975. The show skyrocketed him to fame, and within weeks, John was no longer the unknown boy from New Jersey. He became a household name, receiving over 10,000 fan letters a week. However, with fame came a new set of fears. John feared being typecast, and when he auditioned for Saturday Night Fever, the director bluntly told him, "I don't want Barbarino in my movie." This moment became a turning point for John. He realized that to truly make a mark in Hollywood, he had to step outside the mold and challenge himself. It was during this time that he began to develop the character of Tony Manero, a role that would not only save his career but redefine pop culture. The struggles of fame and reinvention. While Saturday Night Fever catapulted John Travolta to international stardom, it also brought about a sense of emptiness. The fame that had once been a dream was now a burden. Directors saw him as Tony Manero, and the roles that came his way were often limited to the same mold, the charming, cocky, dancing heartthrob. This typecasting weighed heavily on John, who wanted to prove that he was more than just a teen idol. His next major film, Grease, became a worldwide sensation. But even as the film earned over $300 million, John began to feel the exhaustion of endless promotional tours and media attention. He found himself trapped in a cycle of fame that seemed to suffocate the artist inside him. The pressure to maintain his image grew, and John began to question if he would ever escape the shadow of his past roles. A brief fall and a triumphant return. After the success of Grease, John's career began to face challenges. His next film, Staying Alive, was met with harsh criticism, and some even described his performance as lackluster. The reviews stung, and for a moment, John believed the press. He wondered if his career had burned too brightly too soon. However, as always, he refused to give up. In 1989, John made a successful comeback with the unexpected hit Look Who's Talking. The film, featuring a talking baby voiced by Bruce Willis, proved that John still had the ability to captivate audiences. Yet despite this success, critics continued to view him with skepticism. They saw him as a fading star, a once great actor who was now a relic of the past. But John wasn't done yet. Pulp Fiction, the role that resurrected his career. In 1994, Quentin Tarantino saw something that the world had forgotten about John Travolta: the depth, complexity, and vulnerability that lay beneath his public persona. Tarantino cast him as Vincent Vega in Pulp Fiction, a role that would change John's career once again. When the film premiered at Cannes, the audience gave John 6 minutes of applause, a recognition of his talent that had been absent for years. Pulp Fiction earned John his second Oscar nomination and proved that he was more than just a pretty face. The film's success marked a triumphant return for John, and for the first time in years he was truly seen as an artist. But the price of his revival came with its own challenges. As the higher he rose, the more difficult it became to escape the shadows of his past. The price of fame and the shadows that follow. John Travolta's journey from humble beginnings to Hollywood superstardom has been filled with both triumph and heartache. He has faced unimaginable loss, battled with the pressures of fame, and struggled to break free from the roles that defined him. Yet through it all, he has remained resilient, constantly reinventing himself as an actor and as a person. As he reflects on his life, John understands that the price of fame is never cheap. The shadows of the past, the losses, and the criticism are always there, but they have only made him stronger. John Travolta's story is not just the tale of a star. It is the journey of a man who has faced the darkness and continues to rise, unbroken.